You're listening to Filter Free America.
Well, Filter Free America is where I wanna be. Driving on the shining black shores of oil-soaked Lady Liberty, with justice not just blind, but deaf, dumb, and unkind. Thank God I'm filter free. Yeah. It's Filter Free America.
Motherfucker!
Hello, Filter Free America listeners. Welcome back to another high-quality interview episode of the Filter Free America podcast. By high quality, I mean I was probably high somewhere within the production of this episode. But it's also a really good episode. Let's talk about that episode. The guest is not using his real name, but we will refer to him as Bob in the podcast. And yes, whenever a guest wants to protect their identity, you know they are about to reveal some shit. That is definitely true with this episode too. Bob, our guest, has been working in the hotel industry for almost 20 years, and he has some stories to share. Drug-related stories, suicide and death stories, poop cleanup stories, and so much more. Also included in the stories are some stories about his many interactions with famous people. Names like Daniel Tosh and Lisa Lampanelli. Also, a very interesting story about Eddie Van Halen sitting on a toilet. If all of that is not enough for you, we end this episode with a story about the NBA covering up crimes of its athletes, and also a story about one of the most famous athletes on the planet banging hookers 2x2 like the Noah of dick slinging. Of course, we don't give his name, but I did leave a subtle hint within the episode that should help you figure it out. We do start our conversation with some details about working in the hotel industry. We learn a little bit about the finances of a hotel. Also, we talk about how hotels deal with the Super Bowl when the Super Bowl comes to town. And we also get into a discussion about how the hotel industry is reacting to the coronavirus outbreak, scare, false flag, made up shit, whatever you want to consider it. We talk about the coronavirus a little bit. All right. Before we kick off the episode real fast, let me mention the sponsor of the Filter Free America podcast, and that is simplewebsite.us. 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 And of course, you guys know what they do, right? Simple Website, that's who you turn to if you need to build a Squarespace website and you either don't have the skills to do it or you don't have the time. The good people at simplewebsite.us, they have mastered the Squarespace website builder. They know every trick there is. They can maximize it to the fullest potential for you. All you have to do is go to simplewebsite.us, get in contact with them, let them know what you want your Squarespace website to look like, and they will build it from the ground up. If you want to see an example of the work, just go to filterfreeamerica.com, filterfreeamerica, America always intentionally misspelled with the letter K.com, and check out the website they have built for me. They have built it, they maintain it, and they can do the same thing for you. Probably even better by now. They've probably even got more skills that they can add to it. So yeah, let's kick this episode off. Got to give it a name. This one was pretty easy to name. We're going to call this episode Confessions of a Hotel Manager. You like that? I like that. So here we go. Confessions of a Hotel Manager with our guest, Bob, right here on Filter Free America. Let's go.
So I have you in a 2-bedroom suite on the 12th floor. Is that okay?
Sounds perfect.
I'd like a hotel room, please, with an extra large bed, a TV, and one of those little refrigerators you have to open with a key.
A massive prostitution sting at a hotel right on the state line netted 15 arrests.
I'd like a room, please.
PD had to evacuate a hotel in the Northwest while they investigated a pipe bomb left there.
I want to speak to the manager.
with a frightening story about bed bugs in his motel room.
At what point did you think it was a good idea to smoke weed in a hotel room?
If you have any problems, feel free to call the front desk.
Where'd you start your employment in hospitality?
Well, my first job was front desk. I was doing odd jobs for a summer here and quit a couple of them. One was TSA. Figured I didn't want to touch people all day, and so I quit that.
Right.
Went out, framed some houses. Hated that. Convinced everybody I was deaf so that they cut me some slack.
Right.
I wasn't ripping my fingers off to get you a piece
This little
of
deaf
OSB.
kid sure isn't working out.
You can hear me? No, then they're yelling loud. Anyway, unemployment set to dry up, so I took a job at the front desk, and really, it kind of came down to my dad and brother came up to visit me one night, and I had to step away to help a guest, and I had no idea what I was going to do with my life. I was just out of the military there 6-8 months before that, and finished up with that guest, and I walked back over. My brother said, "What about this industry? You seem like you're pretty good at talking to guests," and kind of a light bulb went off, and that's where I started, and since made a career of it. Is it
an enjoyable career to you, or is it a career that it's financially viable for you and you can put up with it type career?
Yeah, I never considered it as a career until I was in it so long that I knew I couldn't get out of it and I had to make it a career.
Right.
Happens to
You're
a
trapped.
lot of us. Yeah, you got stuck. Like, what
Same
am I
with
going to do?
podcasting. I mean, once you record
Right.
one, you're just stuck doing it now. So
Yeah, exactly.
you can't give up.
So, general overall, I do enjoy it. It is, I'm not getting rich doing it, but I make pretty decent money doing it, and so.
Can we ask that then? Well, first, what is your current position?
Director of the front office operation, which is fairly decent size. It's where I've spent the majority of my career. I have worked in the revenue side of things and housekeeping and all that stuff. So I've pretty much worked in every department in a hotel that you could have, with the exception of being a salesperson. The position I'm in now, I always move around to make money. So, I'm not, if you stay somewhere for 20 years, they're going to give you, take a hometown discount by promoting you into a position that should probably be paying more. So if you're not stuck in one spot and willing to move job, every couple, 3, 4, 5 years, you can, increase your income in that regard.
Are you able to give me a salary range for upper management? Either a general manager range for a hotel, or
let's say
your position.
Let's say a 300-room hotel in this Minneapolis-St. Paul market. The general manager's probably making $115 to $140 plus a bonus, maybe 30 to 40% bonus potential.
Wow.
Yeah, and then scale that by the services offered. You have limited service hotels that are like Hampton Inns, where you're getting a room and an egg and an envelope for breakfast, and bigger properties like the Lowe's downtown. It's a luxury property to have different services. So while they're not great big, they do have higher rated rooms and stuff like that. And then you've got big properties downtown. There's a Hyatt down there that's 600 rooms and a Hilton that's 800 rooms. So just based on the scale of the operation, you can kind of adjust it from there.
So keeping with our fictional hotel, 300-room hotel, can you give me an idea of what a hotel makes? What's the profit margin?
So rooms is number one for most hotels, unless you get to the casinos, right? That's your revenue generator. So what hotels of that size are trying to do is what's called build a base. You bring in groups, hockey teams, car show, you name it, what comes through. You're trying to get that on the books so that you can plan accordingly. Then what you're trying to do is sell food and beverage. So banquet space, weddings. A wedding at a hotel, you're talking $55 for a plate of chicken and mashed potatoes, maybe some asparagus. And,
right.
What's the cost on that? $3. So
right.
There's a good profit margin there. The cost on the raw food is one thing. There's labor that goes into it. But, a hotel is trying to probably make between... keep their costs at 15 to 25% on beverages. So they're making, 80% profit. Food, somewhere similar, but a lot of it kind of boils down to how big is your space do you have? What are you putting into it type of a deal. So some of the lesser ones are making a little lesser profits, where some of the grander, bigger places that are doing a lot more keep their costs low because they're massive output.
Can you put a number on what an average year, no special events that are crazy like Super Bowl or things like that we'll talk about, but on an average year, 300-room hotel, what would they expect to make in a middle-sized market, I guess.
Probably between, you mean the hotel, what is the gross revenue on that?
Yeah, gross revenue, yeah.
15 to 25 million.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. That seems more than what I thought, but
it's probably more than most people think.
Right. Am I right to think that the bookings, as far as like conferences and things like that, that's the core of the business? Mom and pop traveling on the vacation, needing a room to stay 1-2 nights isn't really the core essence of most hotels?
Well, it's not as, I don't think it's as simple as that. You have some hotels that are 100, 200 rooms that really, they don't have any banquet space, so they can't book these big groups because they can't host these events in-house. So they're taking what we call transient business. So somebody coming in to visit a company or a client needs a place to stay for a night. That's who they're targeting. Bigger hotels are looking for big conventions, big groups to book 5 or 6 years out and fill it that way. That transient mom and pop is always going to be a component because you fill the voids in the group with transient. Then there's hotels like down in the airport market that will put their base on the books with airline crew members, pilots, flight attendants, that sort of thing.
And those are all like contracted type deals.
Yep.
How do things change, like in a city that has a Super Bowl? Talk about that.
Sure. Yeah, the Super Bowl, that was a big one. I actually got to see that from 3 hotels' perspective. So the bidding came out in, it was the 2018 Super Bowl. The bid came out in 2013, I think. It was a number of years beforehand.
You're talking about the bid for the city to get the Super Bowl. Or that stadium to get it.
And the city basically, the NFL comes through, and the NFL says what they want, and you basically do what the NFL says if you want it. Otherwise, they go to any other place that's happy to host them. So they said, I believe they wanted 80% of the room inventory in the cities. So if there's 10,000 rooms, they wanted 8,000 for what they wanted to use them for, and the rest of them you can sell to the open market.
So explain that to me then. So how do they dictate that to the hotels? How do you...
So the city of Minneapolis has a convention and tourism bureau.
Okay.
And they're submitting on behalf of the hotel. So each hotel would submit if I've got 300 rooms, I'll give 100 to the NFL. And they take all of them, roll them all up, and send that off to the NFL. The very first.
Now, when you say give, are you saying that the hotels are giving up?
No, they'll use them for NFL related blocks, media.
Okay, but you're getting paid for them.
You'll get paid for them, but you'll get paid what the NFL says they'll pay you for them.
Okay.
So if they want 100 rooms, you might get $100 a night for them, and that's the television crew, or it could be the Patriots or whoever's in the dance that year.
Right.
So the first time that the hotel's bid went out, the NFL basically said, this is a joke. You've given us like 30% of your inventory. Come back with a proper bid. So they got out to the hotel and said, guys, you can't keep because everybody wanted to hold back for the people coming to watch the Super Bowl.
Because that's where your money is.
$800 a night, right?
Right. Ah, okay.
So that was that process there. So the next time it went through, they obviously accepted it, and then you start the planning. And
was that a pretty accurate number? 8,000 rooms in the
Oh, I should know this. I've worked here long enough. How many they keep adding so many freaking hotels to downtown. It's
every 5
oversaturated.
Minutes.
But it was something like 80%,
okay.
Give or take 10. I don't remember what it was. So the hotel that I was at, I think gave 30% of their inventory. Then I switched jobs after the bid was over and worked at a hotel that began booking their stuff and had whatever they had on the books when I got there. And then the Super Bowl happened. Then I took another job and saw what the current hotel I'm at did in revenue and what they had. So I had 3 different kind of looks at 3 different hotels, all of different sizes and locations throughout the city and suburbs to see who did what and how did it impact them. And there were, the hotel I was at, we had a couple reservations in there for $2,500 a night, a couple Philly fans that were coming out.
Right.
The worst case scenario would have been the Vikings making it that year. We would have been projected to just take a bath on that one because,
half the people wouldn't be there.
You need people traveling out for days. Then you put a length of stay restriction on them and make them stay 3 or 4 days at that rate. So they can't just come in on Super Bowl Saturday night, stay for the game and go home. You've got to come in Friday, Saturday, Sunday, leave Monday type of deal.
How much financial impact? I mean, does a hotel look and see double profits?
The Super Bowl at the current hotel I'm at kicked off a record year.
Wow.
A high water mark was set from that. And it brought in, let's just say, at this 300-room hotel, I'm trying to scale this down for our example here, say $1 million in that 4 days in food and beverage.
Wow.
Yeah. So your bar, any events that were held in the hotel for, because like I said, some of them are sponsor blocks. Nike comes in, they put on a show for the Hall of Fame crew that whatever it is. Everybody's trying to schmooze somebody, so that's that's when you get the Ty Hooker Kraft comes out and he gets a room at your place, and it's kind of odd. You're like, you'd stay at a nicer place than this, but that's where
you want to be.
That's where they put them.
Any people from the NFL who are staying in the hotel itself, do they put any kind of weird other restrictions on it, or is there any kind of, I guess, things that they expect of the hotel that you don't normally provide? Is there anything else?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I'm a firm believer that the Sunday liquor law changed because of the Super Bowl.
I think so too.
Billionaires get laws changed, right? We know that. But a lot of them would say, hey, we need your bar open an extra 2 hours or whatever. We need room service to be 24 hours. We need you to do X, Y, and Z. We need sheet changes every single day. Stuff like that don't normally happen, but you do it.
All right, so that kind of gives us like an idea of the business stuff. But let's talk about the crazy stuff. This is the stuff that everybody's listening to this podcast. This is what they want to hear.
Yeah.
But I think we should probably start with something that's kind of serious that's in the news right now, something that we're all thinking of, and basically every industry. It's affecting business, it's affecting travel, it's affecting everybody's life, schools, and everything else, is the coronavirus.
Yeah, COVID-19.
How is this affecting your business? What are you guys doing to compensate? Are you strategizing to how to deal with it? If it escalates, if it goes down, what's going on right now in the industry?
I'm going to probably address one part of that, so re-ask the question if I don't. Yeah, it's affecting the travel and tourism industry crazily.
Can we say 50%? Can we say
not
80?
That bad yet?
Okay.
Your airlines probably have a different impact level than we do, but a lot of companies are. So there's no travel ban. But there's a lot of companies that are sympathetic to their employees that don't feel comfortable traveling. Right. So they're canceling the individual flyers, that sort of thing. And then when the media says stay out of places that large gatherings are, well, come on, we're seeing a lot of cancellations. My colleagues, on social media are, because I'm working in this city, I know somebody just about at every hotel of any clout. They're struggling, losing all kinds of business. This is not ideal for the industry.
When did it become serious? I mean, how long is it? I can't remember when I first heard coronavirus, but it seems like the last month.
2 weeks, 3 weeks. Yeah. I would say probably it seemed like they've really ratcheted up the media attention and created this frenzy. That's what I feel like it is a frenzy. And it's got everybody scared. That's,
right. How does it disseminate from the company that owns your hotel? Did a memo come out like, look, we've got this kind of concern right here?
So the brand, the parent company brand, they'll come out with some things. Hey, this is what's happening. This is what to expect. These are some training videos to show your staff. It literally come down to showing videos to people of how to properly wash their hands.
Really?
Which is, we joke about, it's like, well, you should have been washing your hands before the outbreak. Yeah, but the amount of people that don't properly wash, you might stick your hands into the water, the old Pulp Fiction, you saw me wash them, I watched you get them wet.
What?
You didn't actually scrub them and sing somebody happy birthday.
Right.
20 seconds with hot water, then shutting off the faucet with a paper towel. All those things are being trained now.
On the flip side of that, your staff, how are they reacting to that? Especially like people who clean rooms where there's people coming in and out, bringing out whatever. Sure. Is there a palatable fear within the staff? Are they scared?
It doesn't seem to be.
Okay.
We've upped our chemical potency, if you will. The concentration of them now is more of an, I don't want to say industrial cleaner, but it's a stronger version of the cleaners. The cleaners that every hotel, 99% of them use the same company, same products, and they're just fine. But there are other levels of their product that, they're more expensive, but you do it because these companies and groups are calling you saying, what are you doing to make sure that we're safe? And you want to have some answers or they're going to cancel.
Wow. You mentioned you've already been affected by it financially. Can you give an idea of what kind of loss a hotel like yours is losing right now?
The hypothetical hotel has probably lost $1 million of business over the next probably 3 months. It's not like the groups that are coming here December are canceling. It's the ones coming March, April that are panicking.
Right.
Yeah. It's going to get worse. I mean, unless they declare an all clear tomorrow and say, we're just kidding, you guys. Only 3 people died, and that's because You know, they had shit on Hillary.
What's the worst case scenario then for a hotel? What's the
protocol?
The protocol. I mean, does it come down to less hours, less staff? I mean, how serious? Does this affect the average worker?
Yeah, and this is the unfortunate part, is that, the labor models are based on business levels, right? So if nobody's coming, there's nothing to clean, there's nobody to check in, there's nobody to serve a burger to. So when you don't have those on the books, you scale back. In 2008, the hotel I worked at had 5 front office managers/directors in it. By the time the calendar flipped to 2009, I was one of 2 left there. Wow. And I was the lowest paid manager in the chain of command. They had to scale way back. So when we had a hotel with 50 managers running around operating it, we were down to about 26. And most of them were salespeople. Typically don't fire salespeople, and you want to keep...
Because you need them.
Yep, you got to keep getting the business, right? So the operators, you got to do more with less. And, the owners still expect you to make money and flex with the business levels. And it's a terribly unfortunate part of the business. I'm hoping it doesn't get to that point, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Have you talked about extremes? Have you guys looked down the road for it, that it does grow? It does get more as far as the fighting the dangers part of it. Like,
sure.
Are you at the point now where you guys are observing people coming and going, looking for people with flu-like symptoms?
No.
Is that something that you would ever do? How does that?
That's a tricky one. This is new. I'll be honest with you. This current scenario I've never dealt with in my life. I mean, we've had SARS and bovine 50, whatever the fucking name.
We've had a bunch of them.
Right? But they didn't seem to impact. Or I was probably a lot lower in the rank of things, so I didn't get the information kind of firsthand.
I'm trying to think back to like the SARS and the different viruses, and try to think. It doesn't feel like we had as much hype about it, or was I just didn't care as much back then? I'm trying to put it together. I can't know if it's me or if it's the.
It's the old. Is somebody getting killed every day, or does it just seem like that because we all hear about everything all the time?
Right.
Think back to I want to say swine flu. I just say bovine
swine
flu. Swine flu, I think, was 2010. Yeah, that's coming up. That was 2010, 12, somewhere in there.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like the market was still kind of already reeling from the original recession. So I personally don't think there was anything to gain then. The economy's grown too fast for too long. Something had to reset it. Here it is. That's my personal opinion on that. And it's going to be interesting to see, because this is a definite recession feel.
Right.
It's only 2-3 weeks that it's been happening, but it's got the familiar symptoms of 2008. So
it's a multi-trillion-dollar impact already.
Right.
I mean, worldwide. But I guess if any extreme changes in how you deal with people and things like that, you would probably just take cues from CDC or something like that. Like that's they would probably send out a memorandum about,
close
hey,
the
hotel
doors,
people,
shut her down.
If you see somebody with a runny nose, just shoot them in the lobby.
Put them down. It is, because we're not hospital workers. We're not trained to, I guess I would say, would it be you come in with a runny nose and a Kleenex, I'm like stereotyping you as, patient 0 now. And
I just ate some chili peppers, I
take
swear.
Them down. Yeah. No, this is all new. I don't have an answer for that. I wish I did, but we're kind of just going to have to follow the orders given. If they put a travel ban out, there's a travel ban. If it's a state of emergency, it's a state of emergency.
Maybe the worst they'll do is just tell you guys to add 3 more inches to your sneeze guards on your buffets.
Make them go a little lower.
Just a little bit lower.
I'd just like them to close her up for a couple of weeks. I could take a couple of days off.
Well,
be all right.
Might be longer than that, depending where things go.
If it's too long, put me down.
It's true. All right, let's get into the more crazy stuff that the filter-free America audience demands. Let's start with something that happens a lot in hotels is pest issues.
Sure.
So I'm always curious about that. You always hear the random stories about bed bugs. And usually it's not like a hotel that you work at. Usually it's some roadside.
Yeah.
Super 8 or whatever.
Yeah, Roach Motel.
Yeah, kind of. But it's a real thing, and it's even you could be the cleanest hotel,
right,
and still have an issue like that because people bring things with them.
I appreciate that you knew that fact.
Yeah. People with nasty homes and things like that, and they pack their suitcase up, and their little bug family comes with them, and they open up, and now you're infested. Now you look like the asshole.
Commercials, yeah.
Right.
So yeah, they do travel. It's kind of a common misnomer that they don't travel, but they have to be traveling because they don't just pop up out of nowhere. In fact, was it Abercrombie and Fitch in New York City was overrun with them 5-6 years ago. They had to basically burn the insides of that place out. That's a clothing store.
That doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, no, I'm sure the cologne went up like a leaky gas pipe when they lit the match.
Bunch of douchebag roaches.
Yeah, just easy on the perfumes there, Abercrombie. But yeah, they get in. I always tell people, if the hotel's been open more than a year or two, they've probably had bed bugs. It's one of those. It's like yelling fire in a crowded theater. When we walk through the hotel, we don't actually say it out loud. I like to say bravo, bravo, or something like that, or whatever. Just so
that guy gets fired. The guy that yells across the lobby, "Hey, we got some bed bugs in 102."
Yeah, 102 tested positive. But it is a thing, and we have protocols for it. The most important thing, and it sucks to have the complaint because nobody likes receiving, hey, I got bites all over my leg, but it's absolutely imperative that guests tell, because if they don't, we have no idea that they're in there until the infestation gets so bad you see it. And if that's the case, light the match. Typically, it doesn't get that bad. 1 or 2 people will report it, and some people get bites and don't even know it, so there's that component. But we basically, at the hotel I'm at, if somebody reports it, we're calling the company to do a full inspection. We take the 2 rooms out next door to it, the one above it, the one below it, and one across the hall from it. And that becomes because if it turns out to be an infestation, you want to contain that right away. We won't move somebody out of the next door rooms unless we absolutely have to. But if they're vacant, you lock them up and they'll heat treat the room to I don't even know, it's really, really hot for 4 hours it takes. We'll take guest stuff and put it in our
so you're putting an additional heating unit into the room
the company will come out and they'll basically seal the room up, try to do it as inconspicuous as possible. Guests kind of turned off by that, but they'll heat the room up with their, I don't even know what the hell the equipment is, but it gets hot.
The high heat kills.
The high heat is the only way you can guarantee that they're dead.
So not even chemicals, it's more no shit.
Yep.
Okay. What about mattress and bedding? Do you guys just destroy that right away, or do you treat the mattress?
Usually they're not in the mattress.
Okay. On the surface.
Yep. The kind of the place you go to check immediately, because I've worked at hotels where we were the inspectors of the bug problem, which gives you a nice skin crawly feeling. Right. You go in and start looking for these bugs behind headboards, the little plastic corners on the box springs. Okay. Those are notorious areas, and you're usually looking for the their feces or whatever it is, and that's how you could tell in blood spots and stuff like that. But I would say probably 90% of the time somebody reports them, they're negative after inspection.
Now, a bed bug it's kind of like a flea, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where
a little smaller, yeah.
Yeah, but it feeds off of blood of their of one. Okay, that's what it is. So when you deal with that, what's the range of emotions when you have a guest who has a legitimate complaint? Because I know there's going to be some times people have fake ones, and I'll ask you about too. But a legitimate complaint, I mean, I have to imagine that it's going to be from I'm irate, I'm pissed off, and some people take it good.
The funny thing about this business is that you could have a guest with the littlest problem, but they'll kill you.
Right.
And you could have some people that had a bed bug, and they're like, hey, I just thought you should know. And there's no rhyme or reason to it. Everybody kind of reacts to adversity in their own way. I would say most of the people that report a bed bug, I don't want to use the term are not rational about it, but they're panicking that they've got bed bugs, and rightfully so, right? So what we'll do is I always send the report to the guests. So if it came back negative, I send a negative report so they can see that, hey, this third party came in and they gave it a good bill of health. You're good. If it's positive, I just tell them, it turned out positive. If we got to heat treat your luggage and stuff like that, we take care of the charges for taking care of that stuff for them.
I assume the room's automatically comped. Is that
typically we comp the room?
What was have you ever had the most extreme reaction or weirdest scenario involving pests or things like that?
Yeah, so it was weird. I had a guest. We have ways of tracking you, just like the government. But so if you've stayed at a hotel, we have the ability to, and it's not every hotel, not every system. Everyone uses their own computer systems, but
within your cluster of hotels,
right,
under your parent company,
you have a way of putting in complaints. So serial complainers can get sorted out. You can actually get them kicked off loyalty programs and stuff like that for fishing for free stuff, basically, is what it turns into. Where you create a pattern, right? I had a guest that was with a group, and she was adamant that she had bed bugs, and I got the opportunity to deal with this guest, and she had a couple wires touching. It was clear. She demanded to get her 3 previous nights comped and the next night comped, and I explained to her. I said, we have a process. you know, I'm going to get this company out here. They'll be here within the hour. Once it comes back, we'll go from there. And she, you know, when I looked into her eyes, she had that far away, you know, look in her eye, like there was no soul. Right. That's how.
Did she seem scammy or did she seem crazy?
She seemed completely crazy.
Okay.
And I'm standing there in the lobby, and this is a group that's checking in, or the group that's there, and she's bed bugging me, and I'm doing my damnedest to pull her off to the side, but she don't want no part of it. She pulls up a jar, like a baby food jar, and there's a goddamn bed bug in it. And I said, ma'am, I can appreciate you got a bed bug in your jar, but we're going to still do this inspection because that one's dead. I don't know where it came from. I said, most people want nothing to do with bed bugs. You're carrying it around like you gave it a name. And my bellman looked over, was like, Jesus Christ, okay. And I said, you need to take that, like, you need to give it to me. She wouldn't give it to me. And I'm thinking, you know, I got to take this thing and put it on a stump and smash it like, you know, baby Satan. And she would not give it to me. And I said, you got to go. You're walking around with a bed bug in a hotel. You're
now a bed bug terrorist.
Yeah, you're a goddamn bed bug terrorist. I don't negotiate with normal terrorists. And she, you know, gave me the old, I'm going to get you fired. And I said, I hate this job anyway. And, you know, we do that. I give a little smart ass
Good. I get away from all these fucking bed bugs.
Yeah, great. I don't have to be infested.
Right.
And so she took off out the door and heading across kitty corner to another hotel. And I said, I'm going to have that GM on the phone by the time you cross the street. You ain't staying there either. I can't in good, you know, conscience let you walk into another hotel with a goddamn bed bug. You know that. So I had that GM on the phone. I said, hey, you got this woman. She's a few cards short. She's coming. And walked out the door, and she was pushing the cart the other way. And I mean, you can't make it up.
Holy shit. What about death in the hotel?
Yeah.
Have you had people dying?
Yeah, unfortunately, I made it about 15 years before having to deal with one, and then got hit with 3 of them in about 6 months, which was brutal. Yeah, one of them was very sketchy. It was a guy who sets up a very prominent nightly event in the cities right around Halloween. Okay, kind of the composer of that, or organizer, you should say. He had a woman with him that was just crazy as shit. She threw a hot cup of coffee at the valet and screamed, I'll kill you all, kind of a deal.
Wow.
The guy ended up dying in the room. He was a younger guy. I want to say he was like mid-30s. Died in the midst of turning out this woman and had a bunch of cash, like 15 grand.
Like died while you mean like the...
Wow, they fucking.
Wow, they're fucking.
Wow, they fucking.
Okay.
Literal rigor mortis. Yeah. She bailed.
Okay.
Nowhere to be seen.
Did she not report it?
I don't remember who reported this one, to be honest with you, but she took all the cash out of the room.
Of course she did.
Right? I mean, that's what any normal person would do. But it was just really sketchy, and I never heard what the outcome was, but they never made it sound like they were investigating as, you know, a homicide of any kind.
Right.
So that was the first one. 2 months after that, not long, basically got the room back because we had to take it out. It was a crime scene for a long time, you know, so we got that in inventory. Then a guy that was...
so like in the hall where that room is there like crime tape on there type thing?
No, it's not like that. We can lock out the lock so it doesn't work for anybody except for a person with one key. Okay. So you basically keep it blocked off and nobody can get in there. But then we had a guy that was on his I think it was his like 50th birthday or something, and wife went down for a smoke and came back up, and he was hanging off of the back door of his bathroom with a belt tied around his neck. Apparently she was cheating on him, and this is how he was going to repay her. That fucked a couple of the staff up. You would think that it'd be a clean death, but it looked like Psycho. You know, when he stabs her up in the shower, there's blood all over the walls and shit. I can only imagine that there was something going on. Did
you visually see?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. So it looked like a murder scene, but he's hanging off the back door with this belt.
What is he bleeding from? His nose?
His mouth.
His mouth.
Yeah, I believe it.
Probably bit his tongue.
Yeah.
I bet that's what it was.
Or coughing up blood, struggling and trying to undo it. Or you don't really know. But yeah, it was a pretty grisly scene. And some of the staff that saw it were very shaken. And actually one of them never even came back.
Really?
Said he couldn't work there anymore. And,
so you don't remember who reported the first one, but this one here, who the wife discovered it.
Yep.
So she
called down and said, my husband's dead, and
she called from the room.
Yeah, I forget how it was, but it was like a Sunday morning or something. Okay. So there was dial 911 and it went. I think that hotel dial 911 went straight out, whereas some hotels it goes to an emergency number. But yeah, she reported it and get up there and we're telling everybody, don't go in there, nobody go in there. Let the professionals, they're here, go in. And a couple people went in and saw more than they wanted to. So. Right. And then the third one was at a different hotel right after that. A guy just unfortunately passed away in his bathtub. Younger guy, 55, 60, just must have had a heart attack. And then at the same time, a good friend of mine actually rescued a guy in the pool that was drowning. Right. He pumped his chest and got him back to life and all that. And that actually just recently happened at a hotel that I work at as well, saving lives with chest compressions.
That's one of the stories. One of the hotels I worked at, they had a kid in a jacuzzi, and I say kid, he was like teens. And I was working that night, and he was apparently had some kind of epileptic seizure while he's sitting in the hot tub. And this is a hotel, you're going to know with the name of it because this is known for this. They give out cookies. Oh, yeah. When you sign up.
Delicious cookies.
Delicious cookies. And I guess he was eating a cookie or had just ate a cookie before he went in or whatever. So somebody yelled from him. I was close by. I came to where he was at. I pulled him out of the jacuzzi. And I remember there was another manager there. He came and I know CPR. He knew CPR. It was disgusting because he's like vomiting, and he was not conscious in any kind of way.
Yeah, it's not like the dolls.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's the most terrifying thing. Fortunately, though, the CPR has changed. When I first learned it, it was mouth compressions and then chest compressions. Now it's just chest compressions. We don't even have to do that, apparently. Thank God, because I wasn't going to... I mean, it sucks, but I couldn't make myself do it.
Well, you put yourself at risk, too, sucking on vomit.
Yeah, that's true.
That's not yours, anyway.
Yeah, EMS came, and we tried to do the compressions, and we took turns, and I don't ever remember feeling a pulse at all. This is the second time I've had to... The first time was at a hotel I worked at in Alaska, and it was the best possible scenario. Guy started having a heart attack, collapsed, and there was a fucking cardiologist was right there. So I'm just sitting there kind of watching him. I'm working security at that job. I'm like getting pulse for him and stuff like that. But the best possible person you could ever have to have a heart attack. But
yeah, definitely.
But this one here, we don't know if we were doing good or bad. The firemen came, they took over, but I never heard back. It was weird because I don't know if the kid died or not. I just know it was a terrifying situation. It was like emotionally hard for me.
Sure.
Because he was I had tears after the fact. Oof. He was a younger kid, like in his teens, and I think his dad came, and his dad was all kind of in shock after the fact. It was really weird. But I mean that's it. I mean, you've got people. It's basically your hotel is your home.
Yeah.
And you like, unlike a home, you've got people coming constantly.
Yeah.
So you're going to have these kind of weird,
and people live like fucking weird psychos at home, and then they bring her on the road for you.
Right, it's a road show. What about
on the wall.
Suicide? Have you ever had a suicide?
Well, that one was a suicide. Yeah,
so that was a suicide one. Any other ones? Attempts or otherwise?
There was a guy that ate a bullet in the parking lot at a hotel that I worked at.
Was he staying there, or just chose your parking lot?
I don't know if he was staying there at all. I don't think he was. It was just a dark back, like behind the building parking lot. Jeez. So it was kind of out on its. You could go back out there and nobody'd see you for a long time because it was way back if you weren't busy. So yeah, he took his life in the
makes
car.
It even more sad. I'm gonna go back behind this fucking shitty hotel.
It was a pretty nice hotel. It was nicer.
I'll say the name of it because I don't give a shit. I worked at a Hotel Captain Cook in Anchorage, Alaska.
Okay.
I've got so many weird stories there. I worked there for the whole time I lived in Alaska, which was about 3 years. I worked there. I started out as security, then I got promoted to assistant security director because apparently they don't really care.
No standards.
No standards whatsoever.
I can make those.
Right? Is that an official neck tattoo you got there? Yes. But
no need for a name tag.
It was like the premier hotel in Anchorage, Alaska. It was owned by he was a former governor of Alaska, Walter Hickel. I think it was in Nixon's administration too. He was somewhere in there, but he built this fucking hotel. It's all Captain Cook themed. So you got all these murals of Captain Cook arriving into the islands, and it's all nice and pretty, right before all the slaughter took place. So
yeah.
It's a very weird kind of environment.
Fairy tale version.
Yeah. So all kinds of, but one of the things was there's 3 towers, and one was taller than the next. I think the tallest one, the shortest one was like 7 floors, and the tallest one might have been in the 12, 13 range, somewhere in there.
Good sized place then.
Yeah. But each tower, and this is how old I guess the structure was, like you could go out and there was like a fire exit to go down the stairs instead of using the elevator.
Sure.
But then each floor had like a balcony within the staircase at the end of the hall or whatever. And you could walk out and there was only like a 5-foot ledge to the floor, and then there's nothing to stop anybody from jumping.
Oh, shit.
So that hotel specifically had a suicide, and not just people just staying there, but like one maybe every 2 to 3 years.
Ugh.
Somebody would just come in, get access to the towers,
sure,
walk up the fucking tower, and jump the fuck off.
Last ride.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So
put some fucking railings up there and put a cage
That's
on
what
it.
I was thinking, but I just kind of assumed it was a thing. But I heard stories about, there was one while I was there, and it was not messy at all. Like the dude had jumped 7 floors, because apparently the security director told me, like, yeah, people always want to jump from 7 floors or higher, because then you reach maximum velocity.
Sure, yeah, you got to get the job done.
So you can guarantee your fucking death. Yeah. You don't want to jump off 3 floors and you're just crippled and sad.
Yeah, you just want to take a vacation in the hospital.
Holy shit. But the dude who jumped off there, he was just, broken and on the ground, blood from the mouth type thing. And we called people, and it was what it was. But then they would tell me stories about some of the other ones. It's like, yeah, it's either one way or the other. It's either it doesn't look like anything, or they fucking turn inside out. And he would just tell me about guys dropping, just the body is just everywhere, like arms separating from the body. And
good God.
It was fucking gross.
Yeah.
Going back to your stories, what about like drug behavior, drug activity?
You want to see some?
Yeah, sure.
You want to see some drug behavior?
Some lines here. But what kind of experiences have you had? Has it ran the gambit as far as types of drugs? Weed, crack, cocaine, ecstasy, whippets.
Yeah, with weed, you really have kind of 2 people in the hotel. You have people that'll call down and say, somebody's smoking weed up here. Right. And then some people call down and say, it really stinks like a skunk up here, that have no idea that it's weed. Like, where the hell did you grow up?
This is me calling. Like, hey, I smell some weed up here. Could you maybe tell me what room that is?
Where's
so I can go
go
get a hit of that?
The coke is there.
Right.
Funny story, actually. Guy called me. This is the second hotel I ever worked at. It was down in the airport market. And the guy calls and says, I left my wallet there. I'm at the airport. Can somebody bring it to me? I said, sure, I'll take care of it. I got it. I went up to his room and found it. And there was those little square bags that, I don't know, holds a gram of coke. And there was a little bit. And I looked at it and I was like, I didn't do coke. I wasn't, looking to do coke. Right. But I grabbed it and I brought it to him in the airport and handed it to him just like that. And he was, oh, thanks for bringing that to me. And he looked at it and saw that I didn't put the coke away, that now you're just standing in the airport with some blow.
Right.
Have a good day. I think I might have cost myself a gratuity.
Really?
I probably would have got tipped if I wasn't being such a smart ass. But yeah.
I would have tipped you because of that. Oh, you got my cocaine.
Brought my blow back.
Thank you,
It would have cost me 80. Here's 20. Yeah. But
Go to the bathroom, do a line real fast before I get on this plane?
Yeah, sure.
Buddy.
The coke and heroin and stuff like that, it doesn't have a big smell signature or anything, right. So you can't really tell what's going on. You just know that it's happening, and
you definitely don't want to go around sniffing the cocaine anyway. Right. That's kind of the point.
Right. This smells like cocaine. But with the weed, when people start smoking in their rooms, you can tell real quick. Whatever your thoughts on weed are, it's still illegal, and it
well, here it is.
Disturbs other
goddamn
guests.
Hateful state that we're in. It's legal.
Yeah, the reefer madness state. But it still does disturb other guests. So even when it becomes legal, you're not going to be able to smoke weed in a hotel room.
I was just going to ask that. How do you know how in the legal states, what are the rules as far as weed goes now?
No, a non-smoking room is a non-smoking room.
Is that same with vape, like vaporizing?
Yeah, we don't allow vaping in the hotel. Are people doing it? Absolutely, because there's no real, again, it dissipates and you can't really tell unless somebody blows a hit and you got a hat holding it in. So, it's one of those things, but you do have to address it. And when you go up to a room where somebody's smoking weed, knock on the door, one of 2 things happens. They don't answer the door and shut all the music off. Like, we don't know you're in here ripping bong, loads. And then the other thing is they answer the door and usually say that they're not smoking in a room as smoke's coming out behind them, and there's a wet towel on the door.
Red,
yeah. Why is there a baggie over the smoke detector?
What do you do with all those Twinkies, sir?
Yeah.
Come on, tell the truth.
But usually, and we charge for it. I mean, it's an expensive joint to smoke. I mean, it costs you $250.
Yeah.
So that's a smoking fee. It doesn't matter if it's incense. It doesn't matter if it's cigarettes. It doesn't matter if it's weed. If you're smoking
any kind
in a
of
room,
smoking,
smoke. And that's what
even
I tell
if you're
people.
like bringing sage to get the bad spirits out.
Yeah,
you're
if you're trying to get the ward off the spirits, absolutely, that's $250 to get them spirits out of there.
So now, as a weed smoker, speaking for myself here, what is the best strategy for getting away with smoking weed in a hotel room? If you're going to do it,
if you cannot go outside,
does the towel thing help? Are there sensors in the room that detect certain kind of smoke that's not just fire? Is there is there a peek hole that you guys are looking through? What's the deal?
Your smoke detector is a smoke detector, so it's detecting only smoke. Everybody, they put a baggie or something plastic over the smoke detector.
Okay.
They turn the fan on in the shower and then steam up the shower. For some reason, moisture makes you absorb smell more. I don't know what the point of that is, but they'll do that. Then they'll throw a wet towel underneath the door to their room. That smell's coming out.
Right.
I mean, it's just going to. And
if it doesn't, you got some bunk ass weed.
Yeah,
That's
right. What are you smoking? This is chiseling this shit off you.
Right.
Bricks. But we don't always catch everybody because a lot of times it might just be, a bowl and boom, pass it around one time, it's gone, and they can make it dissipate so you can get close to where it is.
Right.
The big thing really is people are, criminals are stupid, right? Like they don't think all the way through all the time. So there'll be music and noise issues that somebody's calling. We've got a security department that monitors the floors, but yeah, somebody that's staying in the hotel is going to complain about it, and then that's when we're going to go up.
What about the largest amount of drugs found left behind? Is it just that cocaine story that you had? Or
I worked at a hotel that we found a good deal of weed. This was, I don't know how many years ago this was, but like the guy had packed. He must have been breaking it down for getting into the city or something like that, because it was, and it looked like he had to get out of there quick because he left a lot of it behind, like 100 pounds, 80 pounds. I don't know. It was.
If I would have found it, it would have been 10 pounds.
Yeah, I found 50 pounds. What's that? 40 pounds. That's right. Here's 30 pounds. I found them. Just looking at it, assuming that they're blocked up in pound bags or whatever. Yeah, so unfortunate for that guy, that's gone. But you find some things. A lot of it will be pipes and materials.
Right. As far as weird stuff, I mean, not just drugs, but what's the strangest thing you've ever found left behind in a hotel room?
The strangest thing that's ever been left behind, that's a good question. The funny things are the sex toys.
Right.
I
always wonder, do people leave them behind because they just bought them for whatever escapade they're having in the hotel that night, and they don't want to take it back because it's hard to explain to the wife? Like, why are you bringing home this fucking 12-inch black dildo?
Two-headed purple monster.
Right.
No, but when I worked as a screener at the airport, Iceland Air was like all 9s and 10s. I mean, they were just gorgeous. And I'm 23 years old sitting at that little x-ray machine. And one time the crew came through and coins will show up black, fruits and vegetables will show up orange, different the ways that these things show up on this x-ray. Because it's not like an x-ray. It's a weird deal. But glass shows up one color, and here's a two-headed monster.
What color, just out of curiosity, what color does weed show up as?
Orange, because it's a carbon-based or whatever. I'm drawing a blank on the word.
So whenever the TSA, whenever they see something orange, do they automatically go in there and look at it?
No.
Okay.
No, because you don't know what it is.
So pack my stuff inside of an orange. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But, and this was almost 20 years ago, so they might have changed it.
Yeah, so it could be more advanced.
I would hope they had, but you're always looking for wires and stuff like that, and gun parts, and the fail rate for TSA is off the charts if we actually knew how inept they were. But anyway, this device came through in this bag. They have their standard 2x3 rolling carry-on deal.
Right.
And I looked at it, and I looked at the woman, and I looked back at it, and I backed it up so I could look at it again, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, here's just a 10 standing in front of me, and she's just smiling. She's just got this little shit-eating grin on her face, and she goes, "See anything interesting?" And I'm just like, oh man, like this is the greatest day of my life. And
looks like a club, man.
Yeah, you're gonna go beat some seals, are you? With both ends, it's a Darth Maul club. Fucking fend them off. But yeah, it was just, you know, I don't know the answer what these people do. Like, you know, there's been instances where, you know, at the last hotel I worked at, this guy and this woman went down for breakfast. There was absolutely nothing to indicate the room was still occupied. No luggage, no privacy sign, no nothing. So the housekeeper went in, cleaned up their items, which was some lube and a toy and, you know, a couple other miscellaneous sex things. And the guest was just irate. And I'm like, here's your stuff. Like, we got it for you. We had to throw it away. But like, and he couldn't fathom why we would think the room was checked out. And I'm like,
you ran it through the dishwasher.
Yeah, yeah, it's sanitized. Use it on either hole. But yeah, we, you know, once you have it, you know, you put it in lost and found, and there it goes. I guess if it stinks too bad, you probably throw it away. But yeah, there's a lot of that stuff left behind. And there's a lot of, I'm gonna say, there's a lot of freaky ass people out there.
Right.
Like,
God bless them.
If you spent a couple of weeks as a housekeeper, you are going to see some shit, like literal shit.
Have you ever had one of those? I know there's one that happens here in town once a year.
Swingers club?
Swingers club,
yeah,
or
man.
sex conventions at a
like
hotel.
The furries or Furby?
Yeah,
Furbies or yeah,
furries.
Furries. Yeah, they're in town. Not right now. Like the Shriners, they're in town.
I was like, God, they didn't invite me this year. What happened?
You get those people, and one of the first hotels I worked at, we had a pretty regular, I think it was like a yearly, I forget what it was called, Springfield Bimon Sci-Fi Con or something like that. But it was a swingers club, and there must have been one that was highly sought after, because you could walk down the whole guest corridor was one long, really wide hallway. It was probably like 30 feet long with a big. It was five stories and a kind of an atrium ceiling. So you could look off the glass in the ceiling that was at a 45-degree angle and see any floor.
Okay.
I was promoted to night manager at 23, so I'm crashing weddings. It was the single greatest position I've held.
Fringement of it.
Yeah. Walking around in a suit like, check me out, I'm a fucking hotel manager. But I could see this floor, right. And I'm like, because somebody called and said, like, there's people all outside of my room, and it's, you know, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night or whatever. And so I'm like, looking, I'm like, oh, okay, well, there they are. I don't know, 35 dudes in a line, like fucking on Porky's. Like, you know, just standing in a line, waiting their turn. And I'm just like, you guys can't be just dick in hand out here. Like, well, we got an order. I'm like, yeah, I take a number, get a fucking deli ticket counter thing. I don't know. But yeah, you see just some weird ass shit.
Next ding.
Yep. And then I worked at a hotel. We also had cookies.
Okay.
Where it was like a monthly Saturday night swinger special would descend on the bar and try to recruit people and stuff. And you'd see like odd things in like, on Craigslist, like sometimes somebody would come across and be like, "This is your hotel?" You know, because you're hosting this and you don't know it.
Right.
But somebody else is, you know, looking for a hand job from a 14-year-old boy or something, and they run across it. And then they send it to you like, "I think this is at your hotel this weekend." And you're like, yeah, great. That's something to look forward to.
Hand job from a 14-year-old boy in a cookie? Holy shit, this place is great.
So, is this legal? Can I say that?
I want to get back to finding stuff in a hotel room, but I want to ask more about the swinger stuff.
I don't have any first-hand knowledge of how tight anything is.
You didn't sample any of the guests. No. We got to keep a professional distance. But I mean, do they have to? It's not a surprise, right? It's not like, hey, we're with ABC Company and we're going to have a big fundraiser here.
So the funny part is, and I think it just happened out in was it L.A. or San Francisco? They held a conference that had adult themes to it, right? And the people that came out there for other things, this is a 1,000-room hotel. So there's multiple things going on in that hotel. And
Christian convention.
Yeah, you're down there in Hall C. But the people were super pissed, and it actually went to the media because this hotel that's hosting it should have contacted everybody to tell them, you know, that was their side. Like, I stayed in that hotel. You should have called me and said there was going to be, you know, strippers walking around or whatever it was. It's like, well, no, we're not talking ourselves out of business. Like, he's like, well, I had to explain to my kid, you didn't have to do shit. No. You'd be like, that's just how they dress.
Get the kid a blowjob and move the fuck on.
Yeah, hopefully you have a teacher like that. So fuck yeah. But yeah, it's just weird because you get a mixture of business. Sometimes it's, you'll have direct opposition of things like pagans over here and then literal, Bible thumping Christian people over here. And it's,
and then they just get together and have a big orgy.
And really they go and debate it like fucking warriors and shit. I don't know.
Back to the finding stuff. Besides sex, well, I guess maybe the one that you cleaned up too soon.
The longest one?
Well, not like that, but I was
the
going to say
longest piece I found.
Yeah, for sure. Is it a 2-footer? Is that about right?
18 inches, I bet.
There you go. But what's the most grossest room that was a sex related thing? I mean, was somebody in there doing some anal and got nasty? Was there cum on the walls, condoms in the sink?
Yeah, there's actually reminds me of the time in the military when they had to come out to the site and the capsule crew that's down underneath the earth 90 feet down. So we were cops, right? So we're out on the missile field, and when an alarm goes off, the capsule that's 100 feet below the earth calls you and says where to go. But they were down there for 24 hours, and you wouldn't see them, you wouldn't hear them, you just talk to them on the phone, whatever. And they were co-ed. So there was women down there with guys.
Is it always co-ed?
Women. When I was in it, it was. But
I wonder if that's part of a military survival strategy. We could have one girl, one guy in there.
Right.
So if shit goes bad, they can start
fertility.
over right there.
It was like the flunky job. Like none of them wanted to be a capsule member. Like it was just a shit job, just like being a cop in the military was. But they would every once in a while have to come out, and the toilet was backed up down there, and they'd pump these things, and every single time they were pumping out condoms and just shit because they were just down there just doing it. And yeah, it was always funny to see, like, you'd start to know who was who and who was the dorm whore there for them folks. But just general room nastiness.
Yeah.
There's been multiple feces related incidents,
and maybe not even sexually related. Maybe it's just somebody who just can't control their bowels.
Yeah, coworker of mine, a couple hotels ago, we had a guest that was in her room 2 days after she should have checked out. It was a operational issue. We should have checked that room the day it checked out, but we didn't. And anyway, find this woman in there, and she's dying. And I'm,
so she's been there 2 incapacitated
days,
for 2 days,
and she's got big bottles of booze, empty.
So
she has shit herself, right?
Oh, okay.
Right? And so I'm in this room, and I'm like, because the first thing...
Now, this is not suicide attempt. It's just...
It might have been a drink into suicide, but you bang on the door real hard. Bang, 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 bang. Management, staff, whatever. No answer. So then you go in. Well, she had that little security latch flipped over, and you got to get the tool that pops that open. So after about half an hour of this, I go in the room, and it's always the most enjoyable thing to go into a room and see somebody on their way out or in a very compromised situation, and you don't know if they're gonna shoot you. You don't. It's a very real threat now. Is like, what the fuck am I walking into here? So brace for the worst. And she's there, and cover her up. Call the old EMTs. They come out, take care of her, and unfortunately, she left behind a poop the size of one of those mini footballs. Right, not the college size, but like the little ones. Right, yeah. But it looked exactly like Randy Marsh's from that episode. Like, it looked like a football. Like once, and I looked over at my buddy, and I was like, "Dude, we're gonna have to Rochambeau for who cleans this," because I consider myself a good boss. Like, I'm not gonna make you do something I wouldn't do, so I'll risk it to, best out of 3, who picks up the football, right? So I lost. And I'm like, God damn it. So I take a hand towel, right? Like a brand new...
Did you tuck it like you're supposed to?
I was posing for a Heisman trophy. But so it's first and goal, and I got this poop in my arm.
Right.
But I pick this thing up, and I throw a towel over it, and I pick it up with my hand. And it's if you're looking at my hand now, it's like a grapefruit size, right? And it's solid. I'm like,
at least it wasn't basketball shape, because you probably couldn't palm it.
No, I got these little dancer's fingers. But it's solid. I'm like, I need you to open this bag, and I'm stuffing it in there. We threw it in a bag, and then threw it in another bag, and 3 bags later, we've got this thing, and it's just nasty because you pick it up poop, but you probably touched worse on door handles, right? Like, but it's the whole seeing it and feeling it. But
what about a pound?
How the hell?
About a pound?
Oh, easily. I would say probably closer to 2.
Wow.
I mean, I fish. I know what a couple pound fish feels like in my arm. You know, like this is comparable to a state record in at least one species of fish. Might be crappie, could be sunfish. I don't know. But yeah, crappie. Then you think like, how did that pass?
Right.
What pain and slicings came after that deal? But yeah, so it's always fun.
Did she survive? Was she?
Well, that's the worst thing is all these people that come and go through hotels that have these things. You hardly ever figure out what became of them.
Right.
You know, they don't call you back.
Some of them, she'd send a card like, "Hey, thanks for picking up my football shaped turd. Things are really good now. I'm all sober.
I appreciate you.
Butthole's less pain."
Yeah, that was what I needed to get out. Every once in a while, like a husband or a wife will call or send a card and say, "Hey, everything's good. Like, thank you for saving my spouse," or whatever it is. But yeah, usually the people that just fall out, you don't get the closure as to knowing. And sometimes you don't want to know. You know, in the condition people get hauled out of a room.
Right.
You know, the old drapery over their what do they call that thing? Is it a gurney? Whatever they're hauling them out on, and you get a good firsthand look at just how nasty life can be and what some of these first responders have to deal with.
Yeah.
Just a taste of
That's
it.
got to be the worst part of it.
Yeah.
Well, kind of a related story because you mentioned, having to go into rooms and forcing your way in at times. But we did have one gentleman who was staying in a hotel, and I didn't have any interaction with him besides this interaction, so I don't know how normal or bad he was. But somebody was reporting that somebody was throwing shit from the windows of the hotel. So I go outside and there's like the fucking, what are the little silver thing that goes on top of the plates to keep them warm?
Oh, sure.
For housekeeping. There's one of our fucking dishes on the side of the road. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Jesus. I look up and I see a hand coming out because the window only opened X amount.
Sure, yeah.
You could jump off the balcony, but you couldn't jump out the window kind of thing.
So you want to bend the frame.
So I see this arm coming out, fucking whizzing dishes out the middle of downtown Anchorage. So we go up there and start knocking on the door. He doesn't open the door. He's, fuck you, clearly drunk as shit. We couldn't find the thing that opened, the little flip lock. There's that tool that you were talking about.
Slim Jim, yep.
We couldn't find that, so we had to take fucking bolt cutters.
Oh, cut through
we
it.
opened the door, get it so far, and then cut through it. And then he just fucking mellowed out. You got
the guy comes through your door with bolt cutters, you really start to evaluate what you're currently doing.
Yeah, so he was.
Do I want to play?
Within the room, the secure room, he was a beast. But
Yeah.
he was just like, oh, okay, well, I got to go. Yeah,
You came through bolt cutters first.
So that was that. I never knew what happened to him, but he seemed like a nice
Kick
guy.
him out, though, I imagine.
Oh yeah, he was down.
You're going to have to go.
My strangest thing, finding something, was reported by housekeeping. The housekeeper was fucking freaked out because she went to a room to clean it. It's supposed to be unoccupied. And as it was described to me when I got the radio call, fucking guns everywhere. I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go.
Yeah, Fast and Furious.
So I go up there, me and another guy, and we're unarmed security. And we go into the room, and all it is on the bed is a Smith & Wesson 500 revolver, big fucking elephant gun.
Yeah.
And then it was a Glock. I think it was a 9mm Glock, and then a bunch of ammo just left arranged on the pillow, like right there. And he had checked out, and the whole deal too. But apparently he was a weirdo.
Good control.
Yeah, he was a fucking weirdo guy too. And we never figured out if he did it on purpose or what it was. He was trying to intimidate somebody, but he left the guns there. We called the police. The police came and got him. I don't know if he got him back.
Shoot himself and decided against it. Yeah,
But
you never know.
Yeah. If you kill yourself with a Smith & Wesson 500, you really, it's overkill. To a considerable amount.
You want to make sure on that kind of a scenario.
Right. Anything else as far as weird shit found in a room?
Off the top of my head, it's all weird, and I've cataloged all of it so much that I honestly can't come up with it. You can pretty much just use your imagination.
It's just everything.
It's everything.
Yeah.
And then God help you if you work out in Vegas.
Really?
Oh, Jesus Christ!
From your people that work in the industry there, what's the
we were out
story?
at a training in Phoenix a number of years ago, and it was a train the trainer training. So they brought us out to teach us how to teach these classes or whatever on hospitality, and we went out to this pizza place. There was 8 of us sitting around, and we all started talking shop. What's the weirdest thing you've seen? What's the craziest thing you've seen? And everybody went around, and we got to the guy who worked at a 2,500 room property, and he's like, everything here is like just a Tuesday morning. He's like, these are all just standard All of what you just said are basically the baseline for crazy shit that he sees on a daily basis.
Because mathematically, if you got 2,500 rooms, you're going to have 2,500 different weirdos.
And you're in Vegas where you're there for a good time, not a long time. So let's make the most of it. Yeah. So I got to imagine the number of beds that have to be replaced and in towel. It's got to be just off the charts because, once somebody soils one, it's gone. Like, you got to do the right thing and get rid of that stuff. And yeah, I can just imagine how nasty and gnarly that gets out there when everybody's all hopped up on PCP and Chivas Regal. So
right. After they just had a big buffet number 3 of the day.
And lost $1,000 at the table.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
I'm
gonna shit on your walls.
You've got enough money now to clean this up.
You owe it to me.
My last dollar bill, I'm going to wipe my ass with it and smack it on the window.
Yeah, don't let that dry.
All right, I got a couple more before we go. We're going to end on your famous people. You've got one that's fantastic. I'm going to ask you about that last. But one I can't go past is prostitution.
Oh yeah, my favorite thing
in hotels.
Yeah,
because every hotel I've worked at a few of them in different various grades of quality.
Sure,
there's always a prostitution component going on there. Sometimes it's as bad as sex slavery type things.
Yep.
And sometimes it's just a working girl who's set up her office for the night at this place and try to pick up people in the bar. What are your experiences as far as...
You see that a lot. It's so they just to touch on the sex trafficking thing. They've got very, very good training that a lot of these, the FBI and stuff will roll up to hotels to teach their people what to look for. A quiet kid that...
Oh, to interrupt you, what you're talking about now, how did that play as far as Super Bowl time?
The unfortunate part about our society is that we allow passes on this, but we know that child sex trafficking is like a big part of the Super Bowl, which is, it boggles the mind. Shut the fucking Super Bowl down if we can't keep our kids safe. Like, wouldn't that be the thing, right? But no, because there's money to be made. So there was trainings that went along with it, what to look for, how to report it, because you can't just be like, hey, that little girl, why is she not saying anything and looks like she's been, looks like an abused dog, right?
No, she's just emo.
Yeah. We're just about the wrong shade eyeshadow.
Right.
So it's a pretty shitty component. There's some hotel groups that I'm involved in, and one of them actually caught one the other day. Like literally reported one, caught it, busted the whole ring, like actually made, a difference, in somebody's life. And it was the way she described it was very tense because you basically just reported a fucking sex trafficker. Like, what do they have to lose? They'll kill your ass. They don't get, so it's weird in that regard. But
was it just one victim in this scenario?
In this scenario, but caught the guy that was in charge of others.
Oh, wow.
And brought it back, investigated it and found some other activity. So, it's a weird thing. Like you see some very odd things, and you're, it's a reporting kind of a deal. It's like, if it looks odd, it probably is. Report it to your supervisor kind of a deal, and then make a decision to whether you call the authorities out and stuff like that. But the prostitution, it's rampant. I worked at a hotel that, and a lot of it is actually the strippers from the clubs downtown. Mm-hmm. You get the sports teams that come and stay at hotels. And when I was managing the bar restaurant at this hotel downtown, we had one of the visiting teams that came in multiple times throughout the year. And as soon as they were there, all the girls from Club A were there, trying to get a couple of them to go spend some money. And, really you can't do anything about it because they're not, until a guest complains, or they're making an outright nuisance, causing a disturbance, you can't really do anything about it. But
do you ever have a guest complain about the quality of prostitute that they had?
It's always
substandard.
Why are you sending me Sunday afternoon hookers? I want Saturday evening post. I want to give them the Saturday evening post. It's always the question in my mind that I never get to ask. As soon as somebody complains, I'm like, well, what did she look like? Because for enough money. But yeah, they're all over. I actually had an employee that was hooking. So I worked at two properties that had two different properties that each had their own prostitution. One was the overnight shift
And this is to the listener. This is not uncommon at all. Isn't it?
It
happens a lot that they actively look for jobs in this industry.
Right.
So now they've created their own working area.
Create your captive audience like a good scout leader or priest would do. Go to where the pickings are easy.
I've heard as far as like the girls working the front desk
for sure. Yeah, well that's what I'm saying. Like you
is
you
kind
know
of similar
thing where where you go to where the easy access is, right? So get a job where you can turn tricks. And so the overnight staff, we call them typically night auditors is what they are, but we had a pair of them that were sisters that worked at the very first hotel that I worked at, and they were running tricks and had a whole hustle. And look, world's oldest profession, it's your shit, you do what you want. They say, only God can judge me. I don't believe in God, so fuck it, nobody can judge me, right? You do what you want to do as long as it imposing on me, I don't care.
Right.
But they, unfortunately, we had to let them go. But the most impressive one, is this young gal. I think she was 19, and she was working in the phone department, answering the phones. And I was working the day shift. She would work the PM shift. And my front desk supervisor said she just disappears, and I don't know what's happening. And I said we got to start tracking.
Doing it on the clock.
Check it out.
Double dipping.
Shit. Max your fucking potential.
Goddamn right.
She's getting. This went on for months. Couldn't figure out where she was going, but she would just disappear. And I'm like, maybe she's got IBS or something, that we always go to, health problems at first and not just jump to hooking. But finally she left her, I think it was whatever page, like not back pages, but one of those websites where you can post. She left it up on the computer. So the girl screenshotted it, printed it, and handed it to me. And it was so fucked up because I looked at it and...
What was the ad? Do you remember the read?
I don't, but I remember it fed in almost like a Facebook feed. So like she had her profile and like it was so matter of fact that just kind of blew me away because one of these guys was this guy like standing in Napa with like a glass of like red wine and like all distinguished. And his message to her was just... No, hey, how you doing? Because when I pick up chicks on the internet, I'm like, hi, how's it going? But it was, how much?
Do you like the Wild?
Did you like hockey and things? It was just his opening line, how much? Her response, 60. No thanks. Just boom, boom, boom. That was it. I'm like, damn, she's...
But now I can't help but trying to decipher what that meant. Was that too much for him? Or was it like, you're only charging 60? No.
Oh, sure, yeah. I guess I didn't even think about it like that.
I'm $100 whore above.
Yeah, you're less likely to catch as many VD.
Right.
But so what she was doing was...
That seems cheap. Is that the going rate for pussy? Is that it?
I guess I don't know. I'm raising kids because of it.
I'm trying
to
trick you to see. It's like, no, it's
200,000.
exactly 120.
Let me get my tip calculator out. No, it's costing me a fucking mortgage, a car I can't drive, and
my happiness,
and my will to love. But so what she would do, with third party, we call them opaque sites like Priceline and Hotwire, where you can bid.
Right.
People have gotten very savvy at how to play this so that they can pick the hotel they go at for the cheapest. So what these people were doing was they'd book these rooms on Priceline for $50 or whatever. They'd come check in, they'd call down and say, "Hey, my key doesn't work." She'd quote, run a key up and turn this trick and then come back down. And I had to...
Well, knowing me, that makes sense because that's like a 3-minute transaction.
Right? Yeah, shit. You get 20 an hour. But I brought... So I had to terminate her, right? Because it's I guess we had a no hooking policy somewhere in the... It wasn't explicitly stated in the handbook.
Did she try to offer you some pussy to keep the job?
No.
No? Okay.
Which... But so I had the printed screenshot of these things, and I was, I'm not easily embarrassed, but I was like,
did you have to bring somebody in with you to have the conversation?
I had the HR director with me, and I'm like, hey, Miss So and So, we've got these complaints, and this is what we found, and unfortunately, we have to let you go. And she.
Did you try to play it nice at first? Let me tell you, you're very industrious.
Well, see, here's the end of it. I was like,
and these job skills set that you have could carry you many places.
I absolutely did. And I told her, I was like, I can appreciate the clever and creativity that goes into this and your willingness to do work, right? Like, you're clearly an entrepreneur. Like, you've got motivation. Like, maybe harness it in a different light, but... she just basically was, yep, it's happening. Okay, I guess I'll leave. And I'm just, I always...
You guys didn't get her in trouble legally or anything?
No, hell no, man. I always try to keep it off of... I'm not trying to punish somebody for life. She was 19. I tried to give her that, I was like, I think 28 at the time. I'm trying to give her like life advice and stuff like.
I know. I
you
used
can
to turn
turn it
tricks
around,
too. I used to do the same thing.
You can turn it around and make $19 an hour. Or you can make $400 a fucking hour getting blown open. Like, do whatever you want. I don't give a shit.
It's America.
You already made a better decision than I have, and I'm 10 years older. So
just make sure you invest those funds.
Yeah, you want to diversify that, buddy.
So it's your same question, the question that you always want to ask. How does she look? Was she... on a 1 to 10 scale, 10 being Shakira, where were we at here?
Nicki Minaj. What is she
60
rank?
might be overpriced then, in my view.
She'd be like a 4 or 5, right? I don't know.
I don't know. If she didn't talk, do you have to pay more?
I don't know. I've never heard her talk.
Oh, God, it's horrible.
Sounds like I'm winning there.
I forgot a couple I wanted to ask you real quick before we get to the famous people, but have you ever had to reject a guest coming in for like a strange reason? Like they came in, you just got a bad vibe.
Yeah.
They stank really, really bad. They were super gross. Any of that kind of story?
Yeah, I've had a few of those where we call them walk-ins. Mm-hmm. Like if you show up to the hotel without a reservation, you're a walk-in. That immediately is what's going on. Like if I'm going somewhere, God damn it, I know where I'm staying the whole time that I'm there. So what's going on with you that
especially
you don't
in today's
know
market
that?
where you can like look online and get the best
shit.
price
Yeah, you could be doing it while you walk in the door, book a room, right? So you get some of those that people, we don't take cash. Like you can pay cash room, but you have to have a credit card because the cash is finite. So once that's up, you smash the TV, we're out. But you get some people that are either super drunk or abusive verbally to the staff, which I absolutely do not tolerate. You start dropping F-bombs on my staff and like they don't get paid enough to listen to that shit. Take your stuff, go out, don't come back, tell your friends. I always tell them, don't come back and tell your friends.
Right.
Like, fuck it. Go on your stupid fucking Facebook and
friends.
Tell everybody how we mistreated your obnoxious ass. They already know you're a prick.
Right.
They're probably going to stay where you aren't.
Right.
So we're probably going to get that business on account of they run into you. But yeah, it happens. You get some that smell a lot like weed and stuff when they walk in the door, and you don't necessarily disqualify somebody for that. But sometimes the rate went up.
Right.
Yeah, oh shit, that rate just went up about 60. You almost play the old Minnesota like passive aggressive, like I'm gonna
trying to make them to choose not to come in there. Like
I don't want you to stay here. It's $99, but I'm gonna tell you $199.
Right.
Oh, that's too much. Can you do any better? No. And then they just go away. But yeah, it's I've had cash thrown off my face and stuff like that, which it was interesting. And yeah, it really makes you quickly make a decision, because somebody throws cash in my face on the street, like we got business now,
Right.
We have to figure this out.
Well, that's a good. What was the most personally insulting to you interaction that you had with a guest? Was there one that sticks out as like
probably that one where so the guy wanted to put a cash deposit down? It was like a gymnastics or dance or something convention, and I worked at this hotel, and there was a big long front desk and there was a gift shop on the end of it, and I told the guest like I can't take cash, and he back and forth and I've been called a Nazi a lot in and I don't, it's maybe this haircut, I don't have any hair or whatever, but he called me a Nazi and took this wad of 5 $100 bills and just duffed me in the face with it. Like just like a cheap hooker. And I just dead red. I was so fucking pissed. And I'm like, my hands, clenched up. There was a long desk and I was like, shit, you're at work. You can't hit this guy. His daughter is just, Dad, you are such an asshole. Why are you embarrassed? And I just
thank God she at least recognized what
felt terrible for her. She's embarrassed. Her team is on the other side of the lobby. This is happening. And these 3 old ladies were down trying to buy a Mountain Dew or whatever. And they said, sir, come over here for a second. And I'm like shaking my head. Like I'm heated, the adrenaline is pumping. And this guy just bitch slapped me, right? With some money. And I'm pissed. And so I walked down. I said, yeah, what can I do for you? And they're like, well, I just wanted to tell you, you're handling this phenomenally. And just take a deep breath and think of that guy's daughter.
Right.
And I said, yeah, you're right. And she goes, but can we pay for this? And I looked back and I was like, I would be happy to take your cash for this. And just insulting, and they're laughing. I walked back over and I could find 4 of the hundreds that were sitting like on the desk and in the printer that it fell on, and I handed them back, and he's like, there was 5, and I was like, I don't care. You
Right.
find it on yourself or get somebody else. I'm not picking your shit up too. I was like, but you're going to stay in this hotel. You're going to shut your goddamn mouth. I don't want to hear nothing from you. And the only reason I'm letting you stay is because I feel bad for your daughter who has to deal with you as a father for the rest of her entire life. She hates you.
What was his reaction?
Oh, he was pissed, but he couldn't say shit.
Right.
He's got to stay, and he knows his daughter hates him.
Wow.
So there they went. And I mean, it was one of the few times that I came out of my bearings and dressed him down. Fuck you.
Right.
I could call the police. You know, you just slap me in the
Technically
face with
assault,
cash.
yeah,
Right,
yeah.
yeah. So I figured I was justified in some lessons.
Right.
But yeah, that's probably the most insulting deal. You get called racist and stuff all the time.
Humans
Which,
are horrible.
yeah, you gotta brush off, unfortunately.
One more I wanted to hit on before we go to the close with the famous people, but theft within the hotel, either by your employees or by people staying there. What kind of experiences have you had dealing with those kind of issues? Anything that you have to do as far as a strategy to prevent things from happening?
Yeah.
That you're worried about happening that are common?
Yeah, so back in the day when everybody had cash and whatnot, if you had a housekeeping manager and a front office manager in cahoots, you could run a real side business out of there by not reporting every room and, printing fake receipts and stuff like that. So somebody comes in and housekeeping doesn't say it was
Sell the room for cash.
Sell it for
never
cash.
goes in the computer, so
Yep,
they don't know
exactly.
Okay.
And then you split that. You got your deal. Not saying that I ever partook in that personally, but I know it's a thing that has happened a lot.
Right.
With the credit cards and stuff like that and all that. Obviously, that's weeded a lot of that out. But probably the majority of the theft comes from the food side of things.
Okay.
Servers.
Talking about employee theft?
Yeah,
Okay.
servers, not servers, you're going to get shit for this in the comments section if you post this, but bartenders a lot of times will double drop checks, not charge for
What
an
is that?
upshot
I think I know
or
what that
something.
means. What does double drop a check?
So like if you came in, ordered a beer, you ordered a Coors Light,
Okay.
and you paid cash for it, and I came and sat next to you and ordered a Coors Light, you take that one that you've already rung up, throw it on, when you go to a bar and they put the receipt in the cup in front of you, take it and drop it over there. Now
so
I took
the
your cash.
customer isn't aware that they're paying somebody
and if
else's
he doesn't need a
tab.
receipt, you're good to go.
You're good to go.
Right? So that happens a lot. People automatically assume, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but a lot of times people will assume that when they leave something in their room or didn't bring something that they think they brought, that an employee stole it.
Right.
And a lot of times these employees, these room attendants, don't look like the guest that's complaining, right? They're from different parts of the world and that sort of thing. So they automatically go to your people are thieves. Thing about it is these people got a lot to lose, right? These immigrants that come here and work and are working, they got a lot to lose. So if we start, if they start stealing a fucking Fitbit,
Right.
like I'm risking my whole goddamn immigration on a Fitbit, you're
Like
an idiot, right? And a lot of times you'll have the people, it was in my other bag, right? They hardly ever call you back and tell you, I'm sorry, I was a complete asshole and accuse your staff of stealing my stuff, but it does happen. And when they do that, I'm so like, thank you so much for telling us that you're an idiot, and I appreciate you owning it, because people do have some conscience, but yeah, a lot of times it can come from room attendants, but it's not, I would say probably in the 20 years, one room attendant that I've ever caught stealing stuff. And that was cash that was left.
Okay.
And that actually became, because some people travel with cash and a lot of times what they'll do is they used to do it all the time is put it in the Bible.
Okay.
And so like when you go in inspecting rooms, they always flip to the Bible because there might be cash in there. But somebody had left like $300 or $400 and the person that, it was like a maintenance person and a housekeeper, they found it, decided to split it, thinking it was a tip. Like, really? Yeah, you left you $400 for a one night stay. But yeah, it does happen. But a lot of times, like we had a Timberwolf that was staying at our hotel who was just signed.
For the audience who is not aware of Minnesota sports, Timberwolf is a basketball player for the Timberwolves, not a Timberwolf staying in the hotel.
And they are they're a D-League basketball team, I believe.
At best.
At best. But he was a recent acquisition that was staying there for like 10, 14 days or something. And he had checked out and had asked us to clean his room out. So this is a very nice hotel located very close to the Target Center. So we went up with multiple managers to keep everybody honest. And in this room, I shit you not, there must have been 200 pairs of shoes, like leather, alligator skin, you name it, size 14, 16, whatever size, because he's a 6'8" guy. And he had this watch that was sitting out on his nightstand. And our job is to go through all of it. So we open up all the drawers and go through all of it. And we found 2 more watches. They were Chris Air watches.
Is that an expensive brand?
I guess it's a jeweler for like the stars or something. Oh, okay. But the face on these things was probably the size of a sand dollar. I mean, this watch probably weighed a good pound. And it was just, it was diamond encrusted, all 3 of them. And inside the watch face was just a pile of loose diamonds shaking around like sand in an hourglass. Like, and I'm like, I looked across the room and I was like, there's 3 of us, 3 of these watches. These watches are $250,000 easily. Let's all just go our separate way, you know. At some point, there's a very real, okay, if I do this, then what does, you know, like, 250 large right now, this is more tempting than it should be.
All right, so we're going to end this talking about famous people that you've interacted with in a hotel, motel type setting. If you've got more than one, save the one for your last one, because I think that's going to be the best one. But what kind of fame interactions have you had?
A lot of them. I'll preface this by saying that, you know, if you work at a hotel that famous people don't go to, or you don't see a lot of famous people, there's really no protocol for it. Right. There's things done in bad taste, like asking for pictures and autographs. But if you work at a hotel that's constantly traveled by, you know, celebrities, there's definite protocol. You hardline, don't ask for, you know, blah, blah, blah. You don't lead on that they're there. You maintain their privacy. So there's been a lot of them.
You don't offer them your mixtape.
Right.
Check me out, bro.
Yeah. They don't like your mixtape, but, there's been a number one. The very first one was probably one of my favorite ones. Just because of how stupid it was. I was working at the very first position I ever held. And just one random night, it was like some kind of a weekend, maybe Thursday, Friday. And this guy walks in, and I was big into the comedy scene of paying attention to who's who, and I really loved comedy. And this guy walks in, and he looks really familiar, but I quickly looked to see if he's there. And it was Greg Giraldo.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, it was Greg Giraldo, and I
one of my 3 favorite comics.
This is in 2003.
Right.
And the greatest, or not the greatest, but one of the greatest. Right. And he walks in, and I quickly searched, and I don't see a Giraldo in there. And I say, "Hey, good evening, Mr. Giraldo. Welcome. I don't see a reservation for you." And he looks up, like, he's not huge yet.
Right. He couldn't believe he was recognized.
He was just, you could tell, like, oh shit, this guy knows who I am. This is cool. You know, I'm recognized, and he's not a weirdo about it too, you know, right? Because a lot of people are weird when they see celebrities. It boggles your mind. But he goes, no, it's under Mather. And I said, oh, do you think that's necessary? And he looks at me, and he's kind of like, no, I suppose not, you know, type of a deal. And I was like, and I'm thinking that he's got an alias, you know, right. Probably just the guy booked his room, who knows. But I just basically take a shot at him, and not really an intentional shot, just one that kind of came out as not filtering your speak before you say it. And I said, oh, where are you at this weekend? I didn't see a show lineup, you know, at the Orpheum or anything. He's like, no, I'm down at this private event at wherever it was. And I said, oh, the big time. And he's like, what the fuck? Like, huh? And I was like, oh yeah, like, way to go. You know, like, and he literally says, he goes, am I seriously getting roasted by a guy making $9 an hour right now? And I said, I make $9.25. He's just like, what the hell is happening? So I told him, I was like, I'm a big fan. He was, didn't mean any disrespect, but he was totally cool about the whole thing. And I think he could kind of appreciate the quick retort that he had, back and forth or whatever. And
damn right he did.
It was one of the cooler moments, because, they always say, don't meet your idols because they're going to find out they're a prick or something. Right. But there was a lot of that.
That one I'm super envious of. As my 3 favorite comedians, 2 of which are dead.
Yeah.
David Tell, Patrice O'Neill, and Greg Giraldo. I've never had a chance to see him perform live.
Yeah.
Much less meet him or work with him.
I've never seen him live either, but he was definitely a good sport about it. And, I ran into Daniel Tosh had stayed at a hotel I was working at, and he walked in with his dime piece, and he walked in, they checked in early morning on a weekend, and he looked like he'd been up all night partying. Like, he just looked like shit. And he comes walking back down, and I said, hey, Mr. Tosh, good morning. Help you find anything? He's like, nah, breakfast place. And I pointed to him, and he goes to the door, and we had these doors that we only used when the revolving door was down. And so he's like opening it. He's like shaking this door to try and go. I was like, it's actually this door, Mr. Tosh. We just put those doors there to confuse people like you. That's what I said. And I don't know why I said it, but that's what came out.
Right.
Like I lost my bearings, right? Like, and he just looks back and he's like, I'll be back. And he walks out and he comes back, hour or two later looking like he's eating something and a little refreshed. And he's like, you're a fucking idiot. Like, and I was like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean any specific.
Was he saying idiot? Is he fucking with you?
Yeah,
okay.
He wasn't super mad about it or
gotcha.
anything, but he's like, what the hell was that? Kind of a deal. And it kind of gave me one of those looks like you're standing here on a Sunday morning working and I've got this in my arm kind of a deal.
Right.
You can take your fucking insult. I'm winning the war. But yeah, it was interesting in a lot of those, a lot of sports figures, a lot of singer, performers. In fact, my first day at this hotel, very first day on the job, this tour bus comes in and it's Van Halen.
Okay.
And I'm now just de facto bellman, and I'm now carrying fucking Van Halen's guitars.
Now, is this good Van Halen or
yes.
Sammy? Okay.
No, this is Eddie Van Halen.
Okay, gotcha.
And I'm carrying his shit up to his room, and he's in this giant suite that we had. I think
two suitcases of cocaine, probably.
Yeah, I wish I could have busted a buckle, but I take these guitars up to his room, and I knock on the door, and like I said, first day of the job, I have no basis of how to deal with any celebrity. I wasn't expecting to see fucking Eddie Van Halen on day one.
Right.
And I knock on the door, and right when you walk into this suite, immediately to the left is a half bath. And the door's open, and he's in the bathroom. And sorry. He's like, no, come on in. And he's taking a shit.
You got to see
yes,
Eddie Van Halen taking a shit.
Yeah, I didn't see the shit, so he might be sitting to pee. I don't know. Maybe he stands to poop. Who the fuck knows with these people? They're all weird, right?
Famous people.
Everything's you're the kind of guy that stands to shit. Why is sitting to pee so insulting? But nobody considers that.
Well, now I have to do my due diligence because I know what my audience is screaming right now. What does Eddie Van Halen's shit smell like?
What does your shit smell like?
Definitely not as good as Eddie Van Halen. I don't give a damn.
There's like a powdery substance smell that gives off that you can kind of almost taste the air.
It smells like talent.
Yeah, it smells like guitar riffs. So he's like, no, come on in. And I said, do you want me to put these anywhere? He's like, just set them down. It's fine. And he's smoking a cigarette.
Right.
And I know one thing: you can't smoke in the fucking hotel rooms. And so I walk out in the hallway and immediately call my boss. I said, hey, fucking Eddie Van Halen's up here in our biggest suite smoking cigarettes and taking a shit. He's like, well, charge him. And I said, what do you mean charge him? He's like, well, there's a fee for that. And I said, how much is the fee? He's like, $1,500. I said, you want me to go tell Eddie Van Halen he's got to pay $1,500? He's like, yep. Welcome to the da-da-da hotel. And I'm like, okay. So I knocked on the door. Yeah. And I said, Mr. Van Halen, I got to charge you for smoking. There's no smoking in the rooms. It's $1,500. He goes, I don't give a fuck. Charge me $5,000. I ain't going to stop. Okay. Thanks for the great music.
So would you translate that as you charging $1,500 for the fee, and then that's
No, I charge him $5,000.
$3,500 tip. Is that
yes,
what that
right.
is?
Yeah, right. I don't remember what we charged him, but yeah, there's definitely an interesting component. A lot of the people they don't want to be recognized. But what I always did, because some of them I wanted to talk to, like actually have a conversation with.
Who are you most blown away by?
Probably my favorite person to talk to, because it was my childhood in the years that I was growing up. Winnie Cooper from the Wonder Years, Danica McKellar.
That was your one?
Just she's a smoke show, dude. I mean, right? A 10 of 10, right? And I would always walk up to these people and say, hey, good morning, Miss McKellar. I'm not calling you Winnie or saying I love you. I'd always start with that, and that always put them at ease that I'm not some start raving lunatic fan that just is looking. And so I have like a 5-10 minute conversation with them as like an actual person. And
hi, Jack Bauer.
Yeah,
how are you?
And don't talk about their job,
right?
Because they don't want to talk about their work, same as me. So just have an actual conversation with them was always more meaning to me. But the guy from Office Space is Drew.
Okay.
Show her my O face. Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
So he was in the hotel one day, and I was like, what the hell is that guy's real name? Because I don't want to call him Drew or O face, right? So I Googled his name, and when he came back, I called him his real name, And he had the biggest smile and walked up to me and gave me this like the old handshake hug back tap, type of deal. He was just so happy to be recognized as somebody that wasn't the guy from Office Space. So I pull that on a lot of people, but
that's Mr. O-Face.
That is Tommy O-Face. But a lot of them, you can tell that they don't want to be talked to or they don't want to be bothered with anything. And I always made an attempt to greet them as, any other guest that I knew the name of. And if people were around, I wouldn't bring any attention to them because you don't want to, hey, Mr. Michael Jordan's here. Oh, and now all these people that don't give a shit about nothing, don't want to see him, now are mobbing them. So you leave them to their devices.
Before you share your what I'm calling the craziest story, was there a worst reaction? With a famous person? Did you have one that you can talk about and identify the person as?
Yeah. So I had a very famous comedian of, how would I describe him? I'm not going to say his name because I just don't want to say his name, but he had
so it's a guy. So
yep. It's a guy. Okay. He drove a Bentley that was pulled behind a tour bus on a trailer. So he's a black guy.
I don't want to be the one to say it.
I've got to describe you by the car you drive.
Right.
Very famous. And he wanted us to leave this trailer with his car on.
Is he from Chicago?
I don't know where he's from.
Is he dead?
Nope, it wasn't Bernie Mac. Okay. Is that who you were thinking?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Oh, I don't think Bernie Mac would act like this.
Okay.
This guy was a F you, do you know who I am? Which is always the surest way to get me to never buckle for you. So we had a front drive.
It's got to be Chris Rock. It's got to be...
It ain't Chris Rock.
Dave Chappelle.
Oh, hell no, it ain't Dave Chappelle.
Black, big-time famous Eddie Murphy?
So he wanted to leave. You're going to eventually guess it, so I'm going to drop it there.
Okay, fair enough.
But because there's like 9.
Right.
Richard Pryor's dead, so it's not him. But he wanted to leave this vehicle on this trailer on our front approach to the hotel, which is where we do all our valet in our cars and people drop off. And I said, we have to take the vehicle off and have the keys for it. And you got to take your tour bus in the trailer.
Okay.
The fire trucks show up. They're showing up right there.
Reasonable request.
Exactly. And he gave me the old, F you, I ain't doing it. But he never talked to me. He had his entourage of about 5 or 6 guys that were sending his messages to me.
I know who it is.
You know who this is. I've told you this story before, I think.
No? I know who it is. I'll ask you after the recording.
And he said, I'm leaving it on your drive, and that's just the way it's gonna be. I'm like, well, I need the keys, or I'm gonna have it towed. And after a couple of back and forths with his people,
right?
And my doorman had already been dealing with him, and were frustrated, and like, the guy's a prick, man. Like, because originally I sent the black doorman to go talk to him because he'd probably have more, he could get this. He's the doorman. Hey, go tell him we need the keys, kind of a deal.
You don't have to deal with the whiteness problem,
right? Yeah, just bring in the white guy at the end,
right?
But he went over there and was talking to him. He's like, he's a prick, man. Fuck this guy, whatever. And I said to him, I said, hey, I need the keys. This is again, Anton Chigurh. This is the best deal you're going to get.
Right.
You cannot be a different way. I said, this is what it is. Make your choice. And he popped over, out of the little entourage, and he's 40 feet from me. He's doing something else. He's got no time for me and my policies. And he says, do you know who I am? I'm so-and-so. And I looked at the building and I said, well, the name on the building says this, not this. You're renting a small part of it. And he goes, but do you know who I am? And I said, I have no idea who you are. Something me and your dad got in common. Oh. His entourage had to turn away from him and put the old hand above their mouth like, oh, world star. Like, you just got this motherfucker. And shut it the fuck up. And he played by the rules and
did he respect it? Was like a weird earning his respect moment.
I don't know, because I wasn't close enough to him. Like, his crew was over there, but you could see him, like, he had there was no coming back from that. Like, here's this shit,
like, oh, your kung fu is as good as mine.
Your kung fu is you cut deep. Your sword cuts so deep. But yeah, that was the end of it. And I just remember turning around and my doorman just high fives me. Just high five. Fuck that guy. You just shit all over him, and he's going away now. And that's just how it was. But Most of them aren't like that, but yeah, every once in a while you'd run into
You say most of them, you mean famous people, not blacks.
Yes, thanks for cleaning that up for me. Yes, most of them ain't so bad. Once you get to know them, no, celebrities in general. The thing about celebrities is that you may or may not have heard like that they have all these outrageous requests. Like Mariah Carey needs 2 bunnies in her room, or some only green M&Ms for Madonna, or whatever it is. Right. And there are people, Madonna specifically, that have these, they call them riders. Like, here are my things that I need if I'm going to stay at your hotel. You're going to provide me all of this shit. And some of these riders are very, very detailed and extensive. Right. Like a fucking CVS receipt worth of demands, right? This is a scroll.
It's a great metaphor.
And a lot of the times what those little things are at the end that I only want the green M&Ms sitting on the table when I enter the room, because that's their way of seeing, okay, if you got that, I can be confident you got the rest of my stuff, right? Okay. Like I'm confident that your hotel is going to take care of the rest of my demands or needs or requests or whatever you want to call them. If they don't see that, that's when shit starts to hit the fan. But I guess I should say probably one of my they're all back to comedians, but one of my other favorite run-ins was Lisa Lampanelli. Okay. Back when she was like hitting it hard, right? So she's on the roast, she's getting, she's got notoriety and she's big. She comes into the hotel and I checked her in, and she had her opening acts with her, and I guess one of the opening acts thought that I was good looking, and so she had called down to have some garments steamed, and I get up there and I said, I'm here to take care of your garments. I'm just doing it because kind of like a fanboy.
I'm here to steam your garments. Sounds like the best euphemism ever.
Yeah, here's some humidity on your garments. So she's like, okay, they're right over there. I said, oh, you want me to do your curtains too? And this is Lisa Lampanelli. Shit, you know how she dressed, And she's laughing. She's just laughing. And she's like, my friend here thinks you're hot. And I'm like, oh, cool. And she's like, you got a girlfriend? And I'm like, yeah, but she's not in this room, this moment, kind of deal. But anyway, I sat there and I talked with her for a couple minutes, and she's like, I got some things and da-da-da-da. I was like, we can, take care of them as long as there's not a bunch of Clinton stains on your stuff. And she's laughing and we're joking back and forth. And so I get them taken care of. I bring them back and she goes, here's a couple tickets to my show. And I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, I'd love to come see it. It was at State Theater. So a fairly intimate, but pretty large event. So I grabbed one of my coworkers. Said,
of course, my default would be, I can't pay bills with these fucking tickets.
Right.
I have some money on top of that.
Give me some money. So I get the tickets and I bring a coworker back, and we walk in, and she gives me the old, come see me when you get there. Right. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? I'm going backstage and hanging out with you? How am I going to come see you? Well, I get there, and her coworker, she's got the autograph meet and greet line, and it's wrapping up and down this lobby, and one of her openers taps her on the shoulder, she points over and says, there's Bob. And she sits back, interrupts the guy that's talking to her, and she's like, Bob, get over here. And she everybody, and there's 200, 300 people turn around who's this guy? And I'm just this dude. And she's like, this is the best, just starts pouring it on. And I'm just like, what the fuck is happening? It was just a really weird moment that, shuts down the line. Fuck you guys, here I am, that type of a deal. But she was super cool about,
Do you remember who her opening act was?
I don't.
Okay.
It was 2 people I'd never seen before. She was kind of doing the old Johnny Carson type of deal where she's going to bring up her people, I think, and get them rolling.
Good for her.
It was very cool. But yeah, the comedians, for the most part, were kind of ones that stand out. I think they most engage with people.
All right, well, let's wrap this up with what I'm calling the grand finale of this episode.
Yeah,
because this has to do with a famous person.
Yeah, it's very.
But this famous person is royalty.
This is royalty.
So take it away. Tell me the story.
So we had we'll just say basketball teams. I'm going to give a little background on this. We had about half the visiting teams that played our D2 squad, Timberwolves.
Right.
And they would come in with aliases. So we'd have a way to get their keys to them. But, people would come in and their name would be Ivan Drago or Winston Churchill or whatever it was, so that people couldn't easily find them.
Right.
Some of the teams would bring...
Of course, if I'm trying to discover a famous person, I'm looking at the directory of people in there and I'm like, fucking Winston Churchill? That's clearly an alias. That guy's not alive, nor is that a normal name
Just
anymore.
so you know, and so everybody knows, there's no directory of people that we're going to just let you look at. Hey, is my ex-wife here? Because I got this gun and it's all warmed up.
Check the directory.
You're going to want to go to page 2. So they would come in, but some of these teams would fly their own quote-unquote talent out to pick up their keys. So they would bring their own hookers or call or whatever. A lot of times it was strippers, and you could see them like just out of nowhere. Here comes this.
So is it safe to say that we haven't learned any lessons from Magic Johnson getting AIDS yet? Is it true that the NBA has not learned that lesson yet?
Yeah, I don't know what their rubber usage is, so maybe. I don't know.
Nike actually makes them now.
He doesn't have no AIDS. There's no way he's got it. Not
anymore.
He's better off than most people that never talk about AIDS. Yeah, sleeping on cash. So they would bring these girls out and they'd show up and they'd collect their keys and they'd go up and basketball. So I've hosted football, basketball, and hockey and baseball teams. You would think that of all the 4, probably basketball and I don't know, maybe baseball would travel with the least amount of stuff. The basketball teams travel with the most shit. Like they take their whole practice facility on the road with them. It's just weird. Okay. So they would stage, the buses would pull up. We would unload their personal luggage plus all the game stuff that they needed for coaches and massage tables and all that stuff. But we would get that all staged up in the lobby. Then they would all go up to their rooms, and we would then take the rooming list and we would, correspond it appropriately with the bags that we're tagging with their trainer, so that he's telling us this is so-and-so's, this is so-and-so's, and then we would begin to deliver it. Well, this specific individual had his bags to be going up, and I usually had 3 or 4 bellmen on to deliver these items. So you'd load up a cart, go up, you deliver it, come back, and get replenished with luggage, and go do it again. This guy comes down. He's going to, I don't know if he's going to school to be a youth counselor or something, but he was a very wholesome guy, right? Like just the child molesting in him ain't coming out till way down the line. Like he's still kind of brainwashed into doing the right thing. Right. But he comes back down and he says, "Hey, can I talk to you for a minute?" I said, "Sure. What's going on?" And he's got this like pale look on his face. He's like completely nervous, doesn't know what the hell to do. Like he's freaking out. Right. I said, "Josh, what's going on, man? You okay?" And he says, No, I'm not. And I said, "Why? What happened? Like what happened?" Like concerned now. And he's like, "Well, I went up to Mr. So-and-so's room and I knocked 3 times. I swear I knocked 3 times." He's just adamant that because standard protocol is knock 3 times, announce, and if nobody's there, then you open the door. And he opens the door and he's telling me the story. And I said, "Yeah, okay." And he goes, "And there was Mr. This royalty in the room. Taco Tuesday!" And he was, and I'm like, shooting heroin? What was he doing? Like running guns? What was he doing? Well, he was in there and he had, he was having sex with 2 hookers. And I said, "Whoa, okay, that's juicy. What happened?" He's like, "Well, he told me to put the shit on the ground and get the fuck out." And I was like, "And what did you do?" He's like, "Well, I put the shit on the ground and I got the fuck out." I was like, "Well, then you're good." I was like, "I'm pretty sure his wife doesn't want us to, so yeah, it would happen all pretty regularly.
With him specifically?
That was the only encounter that we've personally witnessed, or I have a secondhand witness account to him.
Also, how do you have sex with 2 hookers at the same time? Like technically one's
I don't know. I feel like
tickling balls or something.
Yeah, the size of this guy would maybe lead to believe that he's got a few dozen inches that you could sit on like a fucking teeter-totter.
He's roughly 6'8", 6'9"?
6'8" or 6'9". Yeah, he's a big fucking guy. Yeah. Nice guy. I talked to him on numerous occasions, and he's a very nice guy. But yeah, he was turning him out. We had I know that was the story that you wanted to hear, but I had another instance where a New Jersey net choked out the owner's son in the VIP nightclub that was in the deal. And
holy shit.
Yeah, flat out walked up to his table. It was his birthday, so it was the owner's nephew, not the owner's son, who'd come there quite often. And he grabs this bottle of vodka and just to the dome, just polishes off the bottom, 3-4 ounces of this, slams it down. And the kid says, "Hey, F you, what are you doing? That's mine." And he turns around. There was no discussion, no escalation, just went immediately to 7-foot tall guy, chokes this kid out, unconscious.
Wow.
Leaves him sit there, and then they leave. So then the police are coming the next day, and I'm like, the kid shows up. I said, you're gonna get paid. Like, you got choked out by fucking dude, man. Like, he's their marquee player, like one of two. No, I don't want to press any charges. I'm like, then let's say I got choked out. You choked me out. I'll say it. And fuck this guy. Like, it was dark. They're not going to know. Right. But yeah, he didn't press any charges. The cops showed up, and I said, hey, you guys need to go arrest this guy. This is bullshit. And they said, well, we don't know where he is. I said, well, at 7:00, he's going to be standing in the center, goddamn, that stadium. Go get him. And they're, no, well, we can't do that. And then the trainer came back and was like, hey, you guys got to not, worry about it. We're going to handle it internally. I'm like, what kind of fucking pedophile ring bullshit is this? But that's how they handled it. And they let him go. The kid never got any kind of a settlement or nothing. Just got choked out at his own birthday party after the guy just housed some of your vodka.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so it's I always say hotel work is like Groundhog's Day, but never the same, but always similar. And then there's just some weird shit that you can't plan for.